Good evening, everyone. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Reagan.
And this is Channel 4 News.
Today we're discussing a common school issue.
Students everywhere have jumped on the common trend of vaping.
So-called e-cigs have become popular due to its compact design, availability, lack of a bad odor, along with many other reasons.
And now to know Biddle, covering the history of tobacco.
To understand the issue of vaping, we first need to learn the origin of vaping. So here's a quick video discussing that.
People have been smoking for at least 7,000 years, but it wasn't until the 1800s that cigarettes became the smoke of choice, after machines were developed to mass produce them. 200 years later, in 2003, the electronic cigarette was invented in China, and since then the use of e-cigarettes, also called vaping, has grown exponentially around the world. E-cigarettes are electronic devices that vaporize a flavored liquid. They all used to look like cigarettes, but now they come in many shapes and sizes. Many look like pens or small boxes called mods. What they all have in common is 1. A power source, usually a lithium battery. 2. An atomizer, which heats the e-liquid. 3. E-liquid or e-juice, which usually contains flavors and nicotine. And 4. A cartridge or tank, which is filled with e-liquid. Heating the e-liquid creates a cloud of vapor that looks like smoke, but without a lot of the lethal components contained in tobacco smoke. Many people assume e-cigarettes are safer than traditional cigarettes because they don't burn anything or create tar in your lungs. But it took almost 7,000 years for humans to realize that tobacco causes lung cancer, throat and mouth cancer, causes heart attacks and strokes, and damages the lungs. E-cigs, meanwhile, have only been around a little over a decade, so there just hasn't been enough time to figure out what effects they'll have on your body. We do know that e-cigarettes deliver nicotine just like the traditional cigarettes, causing increased heart rate and blood pressure. Nicotine also has powerful effects on the brain. It releases rewarding neurotransmitters in the brain, like dopamine, and changes brain chemistry. It is a stimulant, making people feel more alert, but when it goes away, people crave it even more. It can interfere with the body's own natural ability to make dopamine, and soon the user needs nicotine just to feel normal. The developing brain of teenagers is the most vulnerable to these effects. The powerful addictive nature of nicotine is so high that it's comparable to heroin and cocaine. Besides nicotine, e-cigarettes contain chemical solvents. When heated very high by some of the new e-cigarette devices, these solvents can be transformed into formaldehyde, which is a carcinogen. It causes cancer. These observations are concerning, but we really do not know what the long-term effects from inhaling these chemicals in your lungs will be. E-cigs contain many other chemicals to generate enticing flavors. In fact, there are almost 8,000 different flavors available today, so we don't know very much about many of them. We do know that some of the butter flavorings contain diacetyl, which is famous for causing popcorn lung. Popcorn lung is a disease called bronchiolitis obliterans, which is basically an irreversible scarring and destruction of the delicate lung tissue that can kill you. Strawberry and other healthy-sounding fruit flavors have been found to be cytotoxic and potentially cancer-causing as well. Vaping devices, or specifically the lithium batteries inside them, may explode unpredictably. Although uncommon, this happens frequently enough that e-cigarettes have been banned from luggage on airplanes. Unpredictable explosions have occurred in people's faces and mouths and resulted in serious injuries, including blindness. With these potential risks of e-cigarettes, the addictive nicotine, the exploding batteries, the carcinogenic liquids, why would any company want you to use them? Sales of e-cigarettes approach $8 billion per year and are increasing. The truth is, tobacco cigarettes kill about 50% of people who use them. So tobacco companies, known as Big Tobacco, need to keep recruiting young people to become addicted in order to stay in business. Here are some actual documented quotes from tobacco executives. "We don't smoke that shit, we just sell it. We reserve the right to smoke for the young, the poor, and the stupid. The base of our business is the high school student. The fragile self-image of the young person needs all the support it can get. Smoking may appear to enhance that self-image." Studies show that when people start to smoke in their teens, they become addicted and stay smokers as they grow older, even those who swear they will never become addicted. Many of the same strategies that Big Tobacco used to hook your grandparents into smoking tobacco cigarettes have simply been modified and are being used today with an e-cig in place of a tobacco cig. E-cigarettes come in candy and dessert flavors like Skittles, gummy bears, and vanilla cupcake, directly aimed at teens. Ads always show thin, beautiful people vaping. Even the strategic use of humor is being successfully used to get customers on their side. The bottom line is that we are all faced with important personal choices every day. We don't yet know everything we need to know to make informed decisions about many things, but we can resist being manipulated. Take your time when making your own personal decisions. It can make all the difference.
Back to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Noah.
Come back to hear more about this issue after the break.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Smith's Pods Deluxe. How can I help you?
Do you have any mango pods?
Of course I do.
Thank you.
It's actually pea.
What about you? Mint by chance?
I do have mint.
Oh yeah.
It's really toilet water. Do you want to try our chocolate ones?
Yeah. Thank you.
Alright, sell that for a second. Okay.
Welcome back, viewers. Today we have a guest speaker who deals with tobacco uses.
We have a quick message from Miss Herbert discussing how do you know what's in your pod.
What's in the pod?
In a pod that someone would buy in the store, it's already pre-filled with propylene glycol, benzoic acid, flavorings, glycerol, and most likely nicotine. But what happens a lot of times, people don't want to spend the money for the pre-filled pods, so they buy what's called a refilled pod. And students are refilling those themselves, and they can refill them with the vape juice that they buy. Sometimes they refill them with vape juice that doesn't have any nicotine in it, or they refill it with anything else that they might want to put in there. I've had stories where students refill it with THC. They might fill it with, one story, somebody filled it with his own urine, even. Just because that was free and he wanted to play a trick on his friends. But they can refill it with anything that they want to and then sell it at whatever price they want to that students are willing to pay.
What does it do to your body?
Nicotine does a lot of things to your body. Okay, we know what cigarettes do because that has been taught to you guys for many, many years now, since you were in elementary school. But for one thing, nicotine will increase your blood pressure, make your heart rate go faster. It, in turn, causes a risk of blood clots, and that can be in any part of your body. Blood clot to your brain, causing a stroke. Blood clots that can happen in, like, your legs or your arms. It can cause plaque in the artery walls, peptic ulcers in your stomach, changes in your heart rhythm, so it can cause heart problems. It can cause something immediate, which is called Nick sick. A lot of students have heard of that, where it makes you dizzy, makes you pass out, makes you vomit. If you have anxiety problems, it can cause that a lot worse. I've noticed a lot of students that are coming to me saying that they're having panic attacks a lot more often. It can cause lung spasms. You guys might have seen in the news where students or teenagers in general are having a lot more lung infections. It can bring on a lot of problems like that. Dentists are noticing a lot more problems with dental issues with the teeth, and all of that's caused by vaping.
So what are some of the recent issues concerning vaping?
Recent issues, very, very broad. Part of the recent issues has to do with teens. There are a lot of references to an epidemic with vaping. What that means is it's something that's huge. It's a huge problem because teenagers are doing it, and we know that you can't use tobacco products until you're 18 years old or older. A lot of the users right now are very much younger, sometimes in middle school or even younger than that. I've had students where they have to go to the tobacco class when they're in elementary school. So teenage use is an epidemic, it's a problem. Another issue is that even the tobacco companies are being accused of advertising to teenagers. That's a huge issue. The issue with flavorings, those are being geared towards teenagers. And probably the next biggest issue I can think of is that more people are using vape products than ever smoked before. So with the smoking, cigarettes declining, that rate is declining, especially among teenagers. The rate of people vaping and using e-cigarettes is skyrocketing, going up.
How have students gotten started?
Students start by thinking that it's the new thing to do. That's the hot thing to do, the popular thing to do. They see all their friends doing it, and some students even have permission from their parents because their parents don't realize that vaping is dangerous. Vaping has all kinds of health risks involved, And teenagers are telling their parents that really it's safer than cigarettes. And parents want to believe that because parents don't want their kids to smoke cigarettes or to chew. And so when a kid says, hey, it's just water vapor, parents want to believe that. They're not doing the research. And honestly, there's not a whole lot of research out there. It took thousands of years for people to realize that smoking a cigarette was bad for you, that smoking is bad. So why would we think in the 10 years or so that vaping has been around that we would know everything there is to know about it? We can't know that. It's going to take a long time before we know all the health dangers. So it's just one of those things that people see other people doing it and they think it's fun, they think it's the cool thing to do right now, and by the numbers, it is the popular thing to do. Unfortunately, we're going to find out that it's not as healthy as people think it is, and there are a lot of risks involved.
Well, isn't that disgusting?
Yes. Yes, it is.
On that note, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Joe, put your phone up. Give me that. Bring this thing. Come on. All right, guys, take a seat. No. Over here. Okay, have you guys together. There you go, Holly. English bathroom. He passed it to him, I think is what it was. So have fun.
Joe, come on in. Well, I understand you got something taken away. Why don't you go ahead and tell me what happened?
I was in the English bathroom with Mitchell Sampson. I just didn't think it was a big deal because we looked around. There's no teachers, and he had a jewel, and I just wanted to hit. And so he passed it to me. And then as soon as he passed it to me, I was going to take it. And then Mr. Reed came in and took it away.
Mr. Reed's pretty good at catching people like that.
Yeah, he's caught a lot.
Yeah. Well, you do understand that obviously you're under 18, so that is actually breaking the law.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, it's something that we can't have at school either. So let me just go through kind of what's going to happen here. If you have any questions, just stop me. First of all, if you were at Forest Park and a law enforcement agent walked by and saw you with a vape, if you couldn't produce evidence that you were 18 or older, you would actually get a citation for underage possession of tobacco. Typically, that comes with a fine anywhere between $100 all the way up to a few $100s. So obviously, pretty hefty fine there. Now, what we do here is the first time you get caught, if you're under 18, we do try to educate you a little bit on the dangers of vaping before we punish you. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to fill out some paperwork. I'm going to have you sign, and I'm going to refer you to what's called the Tobacco Education Group. It's a series of 8 hours, 2 4-hour classes that are done over at Cumberland, where we try to educate you on some of the dangers of vaping. As long as you complete those 2 4-hour classes, then we consider that your first offense, and that's all the discipline you get. Okay, Joe, if you, for some reason, don't complete those fully, what we do is we have our SRO come in and actually write you the ticket for being under 18 and having possession of tobacco, and then we assign you 3 Tuesday schools. Okay, the 3 Tuesday schools actually add up to 9 hours of discipline, so even a little bit more than the 8 hours that we're asking you to complete for tobacco. Any questions so far?
Do we have to tell my dad?
We do, because that's who the lady over at Cumberland is going to be communicating with a parent regarding this. So I will give you some documentation to take home with you, and if she can't get a hold of anybody, then what I do is I go ahead and call home. So either way, they're going to find out either from me or from Miss Herbert over at Cumberland. My experience is it's better if you're upfront about it ahead of time. Yeah, you know, this is a mistake, obviously, but this is a mistake we can learn from. It doesn't have to be the end. Now, I do want to go ahead and tell you, you know, your best bet is to complete these TEG classes, because if you don't, like I said, then you're getting the ticket, which is the monetary fine in addition to a citation that goes on your juvenile record, along with the 3 Tuesday schools. Okay. Any other questions for me? No. All right. A one-time mistake, we can try to help you with TEG to get over that.
Where you going?
If this happens again, we do refer the second time to COPE, our court-ordered placement for education program. If you're not familiar with that, feel free to stop by and ask me. If it were to happen the third time in a calendar school year, we're going to file for expulsion. So if you make a mistake once, make sure you only make the mistake once. One last thing is you only get one chance to complete tobacco education while you're in high school. So let's say you get caught as a freshman, complete tobacco education class. If you get caught again as a sophomore, we skip straight to the 3 Tuesday schools and the citation written by law enforcement. Don't do that stuff in this school. Okay, if you're doing it at home, come up with a plan to quit. If you're bringing it into school, be prepared to deal with the consequences. It's not good for you. It's not good for our school to have. Thanks.
Join us next time on Channel 4 News. That's it.
Okay, hold on. Joe did say I kind of have to